Hello, the sequence you've just seen is an example of the sort of thing that could happen to you at any time. It's a fact that most fires start at night or on holidays when there aren't many people about. Maybe you're on your own. What would you do in a case like this? Would you open the door and go in and try to put the fire out on your own, or would you send for help? Perhaps you haven't even thought about it. After all, you don't expect a fire to happen in your home, do you? The County Council has a responsibility under health and safety legislation to ensure that all staff have enough training and knowledge to avoid hazards. You also have a responsibility to carry out any instructions you may be given regarding health and safety. This video is being made to give advice and information on how to prevent fire and what to do in the event of a fire breaking out. And now I want to introduce to you Brian Howe, an Assistant Divisional Officer of the Norfolk Fire Services.
Fire prevention and fire precautions should be the concern of all of us. Whilst it's not possible to highlight all the causes of fire that can occur in a home such as this, we can certainly talk about some of the main causes. Smoking is probably one of the major causes of fire, and where residents are allowed to smoke, it should be done under supervision. We're all well aware of the dangers of smoking in bed, so people should be aware and vigilant where they notice that people have smoking materials in their rooms. Electricity is still a major cause of fire. It's important that all equipment is maintained and regularly checked. Where dangerous practices or dangerous materials or wiring is found, this should be reported and repaired at the earliest opportunity. Where rubbish accumulates, this is often a likely place where fire can start. So it's important that this is removed at the earliest opportunity and removed to bins outside the building. Every home will have its own inbuilt fire protection measures. We're going to take a look at some of the inbuilt fire protection that this home has been provided with and see just what it will do for us in the event of emergency. Each home will have its own fire warning system. This one comprises of break call points connected in circuit with alarm bells. By breaking the glass, this will allow an electrical contact to be made which will sound a warning throughout the whole building. In this home, the alarm warning is by alarm bells, but yours may be a klaxon or a siren or a warbler. Each home will have its own emergency lighting system, which is designed to operate on any power failure or sub-circuit failure. This will allow the occupants to move out of the premises safely, even though the power may have failed on the normal system, or it may well involve or become involved in the fire itself. So the emergency lighting systems, which take the pattern of the type above, will provide sufficient light for the occupants of this premises to find their way out in safety. Automatic fire detection equipment provides early warning in the event of fire. It may take the form of either heat detectors or smoke detectors. In this corridor, we've got smoke detectors here at the ceiling level. Any smoke getting into this corridor will quickly be detected by this detector head and will automatically sound an alarm, warning residents of the presence of fire in the building. Fire doors are used to separate a building and to break up the long lengths of corridors within a home such as this. The important thing about any fire door is making sure that the door is closed, especially at night. This will prevent fire, smoke and obviously the heat and hot gases spreading throughout the building and preventing people from making their escape. So it's vitally important that all fire doors are kept closed, especially at night. All fire precautions equipment should be subject to some form of testing to ensure that they will be operative when they are required. Fire warning systems should be tested on a weekly basis. The emergency lighting systems should be tested at least every 6 months. All these tests should be recorded in a book provided specially for that purpose. Things like staff training, alarm tests, faults, and a record of all action taken with fire equipment should be maintained in this book, kept particularly for that purpose. We've seen the fire protection measures with which this home has been provided. Let's take a look now and see what should happen when a fire is discovered.
Fire brigade.
Can you come quickly? Fire at Kingfisher House, Church Street, Watton.
What's on fire, please? And this is at Kingfisher House. What sort of property is this? Is this the old people's home? Right, okay then, and it's fire issuing from one of the rooms. Okay then, the fire brigade's on its way to you. Thank you, bye-bye.
We've seen what should happen in a real fire situation. Let's have a look back now and see some of the issues we should be concerned with if we should be the first one on the scene to discover the fire. If you arrive and see smoke issuing from a room, be very wary about opening the door. The door handle will give you some indication as to how serious the fire is on the other side. If the handle is hot, it is quite obvious there's a well-developed fire on the other side in that other room. If the handle is still cold, it may well indicate that the fire is still in its early stages and still developing. It is essential that you raise the alarm at the earliest opportunity to buy extra time for the residents to make their escape in safety. It's also very important to notify the fire brigade at the earliest opportunity. In rural areas, they may have some distance to travel to reach the fire. Residents should be evacuated from the area as soon as possible. In the case of the elderly, this may be some difficult task. It's important that the evacuation is well in progress before firefighting is commenced. It must be emphasised that fighting a fire can be dangerous and hazardous, and you shouldn't attempt it unless you are confident and know what it is you're doing. My colleague, Station Officer Woodward, is here to talk about evacuation and to demonstrate some of the ways that you may have to use to help evacuate the residents.
The first method I'd like to demonstrate is the removal of a body from a bedroom using the bedside chair as a means of transporting the body quickly from the bedroom in the case of a fire. The first thing I do is to move into the bedroom, get the patient in a position where I can easily remove it from the bed. Place the chair as close as possible to the patient, and then by taking her under the arms, removing, trying to get her in the back onto the chair. Alright, once she's on the chair, it doesn't matter if the legs drop on the floor, just scoot the chair, tip the chair back. Now you can see here, I've got no weight at all, the body's in the chair and it's easily transportable through the door, especially on this type of flooring. Away we go. So steadily moving it through the door and then down the corridor. The second method I'm going to use is to remove the body from the bed using what we have there, the sheets and the blankets. In this case we haven't got a chair which we can use to easily transport them. Right, I move to the bed, patient's laying on the bed, take off the top cover as quickly as possible, not worrying too much about it, taking the pillow and gathering in the sheets from the bed. The second thing I do is to move around, and as you can see the body falls onto the floor quite easily. Don't worry about the bed, it doesn't matter if that moves as well. Using the sheet, gather the sheet at the top, protecting the head and the body, and then the patient can be slid quite easily through the door and down the corridor. Right, having negotiated the corridors, you've now got the very difficult job of taking the patient down the stairs. In this case, we're using the blanket method to take this body down a flight of stairs. The first thing I do is to take and gather the blanket around the patient's head. Right? Make sure you've got it really well. Lift the patient up to virtually the sitting position. Is he hearing? Probably a long way in. You move round the corner. Now, there is a tendency that the patient will slip. This is the tricky bit. You've got to keep her fairly upright and gradually let the body come down the stairs. Making sure that as you go back, you find your own footing, but it's very easy to slip forward. Try and negotiate the stairs gently because you don't want to injure the patient as you take it down. Right. You can see that the body again, I've got no weight at all. I'm just negotiating around the stairway without any weight at all. Just easing the body down until we get down to the bottom.
Having a good working knowledge of your firefighting equipment is essential. We've got Sub-Officer Watton from Norfolk Fire Service to give us a demonstration on the operation and use of the fire equipment that you're likely to use should an incident occur in your home. We're now at Norfolk Fire Service's training school, where we've got Sub-Officer Watton with us here to demonstrate some of the fire equipment we have before us. Before we ask him to demonstrate the equipment, we're going to run through the different types of equipment themselves, the types of fire they can be used on, and of course the method of operation. Let's start first with the cream extinguisher, which is the foam. Foam as an extinguisher is ideal for dealing with flammable liquids, and especially those that have been heated up in a process and contained. Such things as a boiler room installation, for instance. The green extinguisher contains halon, or vaporizing liquid. A vaporizing liquid extinguisher is ideal for electrical installations or enclosed equipment. The black extinguisher contains carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is a gas, and being a gas it can penetrate enclosed equipment. It doesn't conduct electricity, so it can be used on live electrical apparatus. The blue extinguisher contains dry powder, a good all-round general purpose extinguisher that can be used on any type of fire. And lastly, the red and familiar ones which contain water. Water is ideal for use on materials that burn readily, such as paper, cardboard, textiles and fabrics. Before we actually get Sub-Officer Whiting to demonstrate the equipment, we'll perhaps run through briefly how these extinguishers operate. The small yellow tags indicate the extinguisher has not been tampered with, that it's ready for use. To remove the tags, if you want to use them, a sharp pull will often remove the tag and the extinguisher is now ready to use. Before any extinguisher can be used, there's normally a pin or safety device which has to be removed before the extinguisher will operate. Most of these extinguishers operate on the same principal operation, by removing the safety pin to prevent accidental operation, and by squeezing the lever type triggers, the extinguisher will operate. Now I'm now going to ask Sub-Officer Whiting to demonstrate these extinguishers on a number of different fires that we've got set up here.
I am now going to demonstrate the use of the water extinguisher. Stand back, point the nozzle, pull the pin, squeeze the trigger and walk into the fire and sway from left to right. I am now going to demonstrate using the CO2 extinguisher on a small electrical fire. I am now going to demonstrate the use of the blue dry powder fire extinguisher, which can be used for all types of fires, including oil, spilt liquids, etc. Again, pull the safety pin, tag, aim the nozzle at the base of the fire, squeeze the trigger and walk in towards the fire. I am now going to demonstrate the halon type extinguisher. Again, the operation is very similar. Remove the tag, pull the pin, walk towards the fire, squeeze the trigger and walk in. Although this extinguisher is mainly for electrical type fires, it will deal with any type of fire with care. Right, finally we come to the foam extinguisher. Again, it's 9 litres. This extinguisher is used for liquids which are contained, such as a chip pan, deep fryer, etc. Again, walk towards the fire. This type of fire has to be extinguished by floating the foam at the back of the container and driving the foam over. Again, you play it to the back and hope that the foam will float across, thus extinguishing the fire.
Now we've seen how to deal with a fire, let's consider some of the things we should do to try to prevent fires. The rules are simple. Constant vigilance. Be on the lookout for hazards at all times. One of the main causes of fire is smoking. You can't be too careful when dealing with elderly residents who may fall asleep at any time while smoking. Don't try to repair electrical appliances yourself. Get the job done by an expert. Don't overload electrical circuits. One of the main causes is to overload them by putting too many plugs in one socket. An overloaded circuit can cause a fire in another part of the building, especially if the wrong size fuses have been used. So, be on the lookout for hazards at all times, and frequently ask yourself what you would do if a fire broke out.
Remember also to keep your passageways and the escape routes free and unobstructed, making sure the escape doors open freely and easily, keeping fire doors closed at all times, especially at night, making sure your fire equipment is regularly tested and checked, and of course carrying out fire drills at regular intervals.
Just think, do you know where the fire assembly points are in your home? Do you know where the fire alarm points are? Could you work them? And what about the extinguishers? Do you know where they are? Could you operate them? If you don't know, then find out straight away, because the consequences of not knowing could be disastrous.